The fluorescent lights of Thornwood Academy flickered as Oscar pushed his mop bucket down the empty corridor. It was 3 in the morning, and the janitor's shift was nearly over. The old building creaked and groaned with the weight of its secrets. Secrets that Oscar had learned to ignore over his 5 years of working there. He had always been invisible to the students, just another face in the background, cleaning up their messes, fixing their broken lockers. But tonight, something felt different. The air was thick with tension, and an unfamiliar scent lingered in the hallways. It smelled like pine and earth. Wild and UNTAMED. Oscar rounded the corner toward the east wing when he heard it, a low, desperate whimper echoing from the abandoned storage room. His instincts told him to keep walking, to mind his own business. But something deeper, something primal, pulled him toward that door. He pushed it open slowly, and his breath caught in his throat. 2 figures huddled in the corner, barely visible in the dim light filtering through the broken window. They were young, no more than 17 or 18, and they were trembling violently. The girl had long dark hair that fell across her pale face, and the boy beside her shared her sharp features and haunted golden eyes. Even in their vulnerable state, there was something ethereal about them, something not quite human. "Please," the girl whispered, her voice breaking. "They're coming. You have to go." Oscar should have run. Every logical part of his brain screamed at him to leave, to pretend he'd never seen them. But then he saw the silver chains binding their wrists, the burns on their skin, and the pure terror in their eyes. "Who's coming?" Oscar asked, stepping closer despite himself, before either could answer. The door exploded inward. 5 men stormed into the room, dressed in black tactical gear, their faces hidden behind masks. The leader held a silver blade that gleamed with an unnatural light, and Oscar felt his blood run cold. "Step aside, Janitor," the leader growled. "These wolf spawn are property of the Order. This doesn't concern you." Oscar looked at the twins Julia and her brother. He would later learn their names. Wan saw the resignation in their eyes. They expected him to leave. Everyone always left them. But Oscar had spent his entire life being invisible, being nothing. Maybe that's why he did what he did next. "No," he said simply, positioning himself between the twins and the armed men. The leader laughed. "Brave and stupid. Step aside, or you'll die with them." "Then I guess I'll die with them." What happened next was a blur of pain and chaos. The men rushed forward, and Oscar felt the first blade pierce his shoulder, then another in his side. He could have moved, could have dodged, but every blade he took was one less that would reach the twins behind him. 3, 4, 5. The pain was excruciating, but Oscar didn't fall. He heard Julia screaming, felt her trying to pull him away, but he stood firm. 8, 9, 10. Blood poured from his wounds, soaking his uniform, pooling on the floor beneath him. His vision blurred, but he could hear the twins behind him, their chains breaking with sounds like thunder, their forms shifting and changing. 15, 16, 17. The last blade drove through his chest, and Oscar finally fell to his knees. Through the haze of pain, he saw massive wolves, silver and black, magnificent and terrible, tear through the men who had hurt them. The twins, freed from their chains, were magnificent in their true forms. 18. The final blade struck true, and darkness claimed Oscar completely. When Oscar opened his eyes, he expected to see heaven, or hell, or nothing at all. Instead, he saw a wooden ceiling and felt soft furs beneath his body. Every muscle ached, but when he looked down, his wounds were gone, replaced by thin silver scars that formed intricate patterns across his skin. "You're awake," a soft voice said. Julia sat beside his bed, her golden eyes filled with something between gratitude and wonder. Her brother stood by the window, keeping watch, but his expression mirrored his sister's. How Oscar's voice was hoarse. "How am I alive?" Julia reached out, gently pulling aside his shirt. There, burned into his chest directly over his heart, was a mark he'd never seen before, an intricate crest combining a wolf and a crescent moon, glowing faintly with silver light. "You took 18 blades for us," Julia whispered. 18 death strikes, and you took them all without hesitation. No one has ever." Her voice broke. "Our pack laws are ancient and absolute. When a human willingly sacrifices themselves for wolfkind, offering their life without expectation of reward, the bond is sealed in blood and honor." "The crest," her brother added, his deep voice, gentle, "marks you as pack. Our life force is now tied to yours. You saved us, so we saved you. But it's more than that. Who are one of us now, Oscar. Not wolf, but not fully human anymore either." Oscar stared at the glowing mark on his chest, feeling its warmth spread through his body. He had spent his whole life invisible, unremarkable, just a janitor cleaning up after others. But in one moment of impossible courage, everything had changed. Julia took his hand, and he felt the connection between them ancient, powerful, and unbreakable. "Welcome to the pack," she said with a small smile. "Your real life starts now." Outside, the moon rose full and bright, and Oscar felt its call in his bones. He was no longer invisible. He was no longer alone. He was packed. The twins had explained everything. Through the night how they were the last of the Wolf twins' bloodline, hunted by the Order of Silver Chains for centuries. How they'd been captured during a school field trip, tortured for information about others like them. How they'd given up hope until a simple janitor decided their lives were worth 18 blades. Oscar touched the crest again, feeling its steady pulse. Tomorrow he'd return to Thornwood Academy, but not as a janitor anymore. The twins had resources, connections, a whole hidden world he'd never known existed. But more than that, he had purpose. He had family. Julia squeezed his hand once more before leaving him to rest. "Thank you, Oscar," she whispered, "for seeing us when everyone else looked away." As sleep claimed him again, Oscar smiled. He'd spent 32 years being nobody. Now, marked by sacrifice and bound by honor, he was exactly who he was meant to be. His story was just beginning.